Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Flight Attendant. This show is strange and peculiar. And strange and peculiar are not really two terms I've ever used on this channel before. That just lets you know just how odd it was when I started watching it. And it just left me going, what is the point of this series? Like, what are they trying to like tell me and stuff? And then when you assume it's going to tell you this, it turns out to be something else. And then when you find out it's something else, you're like, okay, well, this is probably going to happen. And then it doesn't. And it's just like, what? And it's like, because I mean, okay, when I said that Los Luchadores was an anomaly wrapped in a enigma. An enigma is basically just like a riddle, a mystery. That's basically what it is. And that show left me my head spinning many years ago because I'm all like, okay, why are there's three luchadores like wrestlers, and a lucha libre wrestler is a Mexican mask wrestler, but yet these three heroes are like white people. And they're wearing, okay, I know mad they wear like the mask and everything, but why are they inhabiting this style that's traditional with Mexican wrestlers? And why are they speaking in Mexican slang every now and then and using Spanish words? And they're like white, and there's like no other Spanish people around them in the series, like none whatsoever. So it just didn't make no sense to me. It was like the biggest mystery of them all. A Flight Attendant is a very strange yet interesting, peculiar type show. And what I didn't know is that this is actually based off a novel. Now, the novel is written by a guy named Chris. I can't even pronounce. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name. I'll just type it below. Like, I can't even pronounce this dude's name. And so I didn't find that out until like the 7th episode of this season. Now, it's an 8-episode season, and it has been renewed for a second season. And I'm just like, okay, there are differences within the book that are a bit more interesting, but also it does, it stays true to like the novel. It just changed a couple of things around here and there. Now, there is a major change towards the end, and I kind of wish they would have went the book route. Now, some changes they made were a little bit more interesting, I will say. It made some characters more interesting, but it also ruined some other characters, in my opinion. Now, this, like I said before, is a one-season show. It has been renewed for a second. And the creator, the developer of this show, who's, I guess, the main showrunner, his name is Steve Yocker. Yockey. And so Steve, he said that the second season more like a Hitchcock type thing, completely different storyline, for a cast to get herself in some trouble and all this other stuff. And I'm all like, why? Like, the way this show ended in the first season, that should have been it. There was no need for a second season. There's no second book. But of course, they want to cash grab as much as they can and milk it for as much as they can. And I get why TV shows do that. But it also has the point of ruining a TV show. However, is this first season good or bad? It's interesting. It's peculiar. It's strange. It had me hooked for the first 2 episodes, but then after that, it confused the crimson waves out of me. Now, one of the reasons why it probably confused me so much is that Greg Bertinelli is an executive producer on this show. Let's go in a little history, shall we? Okay. A show, if it says created or developed by, then normally that is a person pitching an idea to the network. And for the most part, that's all that person does. They pitch it. But sometimes that person will be the showrunner. Now, this show has a couple of producers, 3. But a producer is just there to throw in money. They basically say, hey, how much you need, what you need, we'll give this to you, this and that. Now, an executive producer, which Craig is a part of, Kaylee Cuoco is part of, and also Steve is a part of. They are all executive producers of this show, along with a whole bunch of other people. So with all, it's about 7, I think, executive producers. So everybody's throwing in their 2 little cents. However, who is truly in charge, you might ask? Well, when it comes to being an executive producer, for the most part, a showrunner is in charge, and a whoever is the head executive producer normally takes on the role of showrunner sometimes. But if there is no real showrunner, then the head executive producer will take over. It doesn't state who is the head. I doubt it's Kaylee. I don't think it's Greg. He might be second in command of this show, but I'm pretty sure it's Steve. Whenever people ask anybody about this show, they always ask Steve. So chances are, since he's developer and executive producer, he is probably the showrunner of this show, who gets to make all the decisions. But like I said before, executive producers get to throw in their 2 cents. And Greg is pretty big in the TV world, so he probably gets to throw in a lot more cents. Now, the problem I have with Greg is that every show he's ever been a part of, he is the sole dude when it comes to like the Arrowverse. He's like the Kevin Feige of the Arrowverse. So he's all in charge of the Arrowverse. He is an executive producer on the reboot of Pretty Little Liars. He's an executive producer on Riverdale. He's an executive producer on all those DC Universe HBO Max shows that you watch. Titans, the Doom Patrol, Harley Quinn, and now soon Green Lantern. And one thing about this dude is that his shows start off pretty good in the beginning. Like, say it'll start off amazingly in the first season, like with Arrow. Arrow was amazing in its first season. And it was good in its second, but it started to dip down in its second. And then after that, well, it crumbled. Same thing with The Flash. It was good for the first 2 seasons. Then in the third, that's when things started to go downward hill. And it's been that way with so many of his other shows. Like say Stargirl, he's an executive producer of that. Even though I think it's created by Jeff Jones. And so but like I've been telling you before, this show has been dipping in ratings in the second season, and the second season has not been as good as the first. So normally with a lot of his shows, it'll be good in the first, and then it starts to die out after that. Or in the first season, it'll be good for the first couple of episodes, but then it will suck for the rest of the couple of episodes in that season. That's just how this dude works for some bizarre reason. Why? I have truly no idea. I don't think he's very capable of sustaining a true good series. Now his shows do get renewed because a lot of people watch them, because for the most part, even though they're bad, they're still good. They have their good moments, and there's a lot of quote unquote representation in his shows. And I say that because I feel it's not real true representation. It's more like the check mark system. It's and this Flight Attendant, it has that check mark representation stuff in it as well. Now, I'll get into the book a little bit later, halfway into this review, because it would probably spoil a bit more, and I don't want to spoil things a little too soon. But this show, it revolves around a flawed character named Cassie Baldwin. Now, Cassie. In the book, she's called Cassandra, which of course is Cassie is short for that. She's an extremely flawed character. She's played by Kaylee Cuoco. Now, when I started watching the first 2 episodes, I noticed something. Cassie is basically just Penny from The Big Bang Theory, but a little bit more manic. See, she's an alcoholic, an extreme alcoholic, Cassie is. Now, Penny wasn't an extreme alcoholic, but the girl liked to drink. Also, Cassie likes to sleep around. Penny used to sleep around. Cassie isn't very bright. Penny was stupid. So I'm just like, well, gee, Kaylee is just playing Penny, but just more extreme. And what's interesting is that this is her second big profile show after The Big Bang Theory. Her first one was a voice work in Harley Quinn. She is Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn is completely different from Penny. But then when you watch Flight Attendant, it's just like, this is basically just Penny 2.0, but the extreme version. Also, similarities is that she got along very well with her father. You know, they used to hunt and do all kind of other stuff, and they were like best pals. That's the same way Penny was too. Her and her dad were best pals. So it's just like she's just playing Penny. But this character is very flawed. She's an extreme alcoholic. When she goes to these other countries, being a flight attendant, she is mingling with some of the flight crew. Some she becomes friends with, and other ones she becomes sleeping buddies with, if you know what I mean. And so, one of these people she becomes sleeping buddies with, friends with benefits, is a guy named Alex. He's very charming. She likes him a lot. They drink together. They slept together. And then she wakes up in his hotel room, and he's completely dead, murdered next to her. Now, she was blackout drunk. When I say she's an alcoholic, I mean she's an extreme alcoholic. So much that she had no idea that this dude had died next to her. And she wakes up, she's scared, she's panicked, she's frantic, and she doesn't call the police because she's in a different country. She's in Bangkok. And so she decides, okay, I'm just going to clean up the crime scene and leave, right? But she doesn't clean his body up. So, and one of the hotel cleaning ladies, I think they see her face or something like that. So anyway, she doesn't remember nothing that happened that entire night. Not even really sleeping with him because she blacked out. And so when she gets back to New York in America, the FBI want to ask her some questions. And they want to ask her, you know, this dude is dead, blah, blah. She's like, what? Really? I had no idea. And so she playing it off because she doesn't want to get caught. And so they suspect it might be her because I think the hotel lady saw her in his room. So she's freaking out. She's panicked. She don't know what she's going to do. But then she starts having all these flashbacks of what's going on in that night. So then she starts to try to piece together, you know, what happened so she can clear her name. But something interesting happens in this show. She starts to have hallucinations. And one of the people she hallucinates about is Alex, the dead dude. He is constantly talking to her throughout the entire series. And when he talks to her, he pulls her out of the reality and puts her kind of like in this pocket dimension with this cool filter thing to let you know, hey, this is a different reality that they're in. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, is she hallucinating or is this dude really talking to her from the dead? It's never really explained, but I'm pretty sure she's hallucinating. But he's so instrumental in her helping to figure out what happened to him. Now I'm starting to wonder if the dude really is in the spirit world or something. And so he's constantly talking to her. They're going, when she's remembering stuff, he's kind of like talking to her, pandering to her, egging her on and stuff like that. But it helps her remember, but she does become frustrated with him and stuff. So that's really weird. And so as she's trying to figure out, this is what just the first 2 episodes about. She's trying to figure out, hey, what happened? And she's getting a little bit piece of her memories here and there. And so her friends and stuff are asking her, oh, what the FBI want to talk to you about, this and that. And then so she calls up her friend Annie, who is a lawyer, because she needs help. And Annie is this very dry, witty, like sarcastic, mean lawyer lady who's very comedic, and she's basically telling the FBI people, hey, look, man, you can't prove she did this just because she hung out with a dude. But then she said, oh, you know, but then because they said, you know, she didn't hang out with him. So she's trying to do everything she can to get Cassie off the hook. But then Cassie has a nervous breakdown, and she completely confesses to the FBI agents, talking about, yeah, she did know him, and yeah, they slept together, and yeah, they had some drinks, and she woke up dead next to his body, but she didn't do it. And the lawyer lady is just like, oh my God. I'm just thinking to myself, how dumb is this person? Why would she confess to all that stuff? And she doesn't even really remember what happened. She's gonna be numero uno suspect, you know what I'm saying? The prime suspect. And she is. And I'm just like, how dumb is Penny 2.0? And then we also get a bunch of flashbacks of her past. And we keep seeing this recurring theme of rabbits and bunnies. They're constantly like all throughout her flashbacks. They're like flashes too. We don't get no real detail until later on. And so we see bunnies that are alive. We see bunnies that are dead. We see bunnies that are hung. We see, and it's just like, what is the strange thing of this? And then we start seeing flashbacks, flash images of her as a little kid. And there's some of the most bizarre, peculiar flash images. I'm just like, where is this going? So it's kind of like, what are they trying to convey in the story? I'm like, wait a minute, I'm starting to kind of get an idea. All this dead imagery of this and that when she was younger. But let's put a pin in that for a little bit later. Now let's talk about Megan. I don't understand the point of Megan in this show. You could take her out and you could still have a show. Now, I love the actress who plays this, Rosie Perez. I'm a huge Rosie Perez fan. I think her best work till this day is still White Man Can't Jump. She played a very sassy, fast-talking, like girlfriend type character. And ever since then, she's been playing characters that have been out of kind of like, she always has like a boring look to her face, or she's playing a cop. And whenever she plays a cop, she always looks like she's bored and don't want to play it. And so I never understood that. And so it was nice to see her in this role because she's a little bit more, she's the lonely older lady who just wants friends. And she wants to be friends with Kaylee Coco, Cassie's character, but Cassie never really calls her up and never wants to hang out with her, only when she needs her to, or only wants to complain about something. And so she has a husband, and he has a great job. She has a son, and he's a really good son, but she just feels lonely. Turns out that we know that Megan's a flight attendant as well, but she's working for the FBI. Why? Because she thinks she's doing some spy espionage type stuff for them. And her character, she plays it very well. And it's just like, she's like, oh my God, I'm doing all this spy espionage stuff. I'm just like this housewife type lady, this mother wife type lady with this really interesting job. And now I'm doing stuff for the FBI. Like, oh my God, this is like so exciting. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this, like it's kind of like that type of personality. So she does it pretty well in this gooberish kind of way, when she has to like hand money to like, say, like this Korean looking dude, and he hands her something back, or she has to go and she drops something off right there, and then she waits for somebody to pick it up, and they left her something, she has to pick it up. So she's kind of like, oh my God, I have this exciting life. And I'm like, so cool, because she's kind of like the nerdy goober kind of person, And then, so I'm just kind of like, why is this integral to the plot that's going on with Cassie? Is it supposed to revolve around that? Like, maybe it will, you know what I'm saying? But it never does. Like, it never, ever, 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 ever really does. There's only like a small hint to it towards the end, but that's about it. And I'm just like, what is the point of this character and her story arc? It's literally the plot B of the show. It's like 2 shows in one. I'm just like, why? This reminds me of Pan Am. Pan Am was a show that was on ABC that was supposed to be a Desperate Housewives filler, but it never was, and it lasted only 1 season. It was pretty good, it was pretty interesting, but it kind of fell a little flat, and that's why it got canceled. And on there was a flight attendant who was working for like the CIA. At least so she thought she was, I believe. She was either working for the CIA or FBI, or maybe she was working for the ME, I can't remember. But it reminds me of that. Now it makes me wonder, is this something that happens in real life with flight attendants? I'm starting to wonder, because this is 2 shows that have depicted that. So we find out that Cassie has a brother named Davey, and he's gay with his lover. I think they're married, and they have 2 kids. Biracial kids, one's half black, one's white. Don't know who they could have came from, don't know if they're adopted or what. I think maybe a surrogate, I can't really remember. So we see an episode with them 2, and they have a really odd, strained relationship. Because he cares about her, she cares about him, and she loves them grandkids, but she don't ever really spend no time with him. And then so it's kind of like, and he tells her that, and how she's been distant. Don't you want to spend time with your beautiful nieces and stuff? And she's like, yeah. So she hangs out with them at a museum, and then she goes against their wishes, and I think she buys them something like a gift or something like that. And this really upsets like her brother. And then when she buys the gift, I think she shouted at them before that. And so she buys them a gift to kind of like cheer them up, but then they told anyway. So this caused a problem between her and Davy. And so the problem that also stems from them is that he tells her, you know, you have no idea what I've been going through my entire life when it comes to you and Dad. And she's all like, what are you talking about? We had a great relationship with our father. And he's like, no, you had a great relationship with him. I didn't, because he was gay growing up. His father treated him like crap. His father constantly harassed him growing up, calling him all kind of homophobic type names and everything. And so she, being the alcoholic, she blocked all that out. It turns out from a young age, she started drinking, like around 9 years old. She just saw a beer one day and decided to drink it, and it led to that. And her dad, who liked to go hunting and likes to do like all kind of like adventurous stuff, like clean the gutters off the roof and stuff, that he finds out later on she starts drinking. And then so they start becoming drinking buddies and stuff. And I'm just like, this is an interesting turn. Is this gonna actually help with the plot? I hope it does, because if not, it's kind of pointless to throw this in. And so when the dad's like harassing the brother and on the gutters, on the roof, getting the gutters clean, she sees a plane crash, and that was inspired her to be a flight attendant, that glorious ball of flame. And so Alex, the dead dude's all like, what the world? That inspired you to be a flight attendant? She's like, yeah, and everything. So I'm like, okay, something's interesting going on with this character. She's a little off. So I'm starting to think to myself, maybe, just maybe, what if she killed Alex but don't remember, because she blacked out from being completely drunk, and it caused her to forget her killing him and stuff. And so I came to this revelation because when Davy had a birthday party, she remembered it being a good birthday party. Dad and Mom was around, everybody was smiling and loving each other, good times. But then he told her, you must be imagining things, because it did not happen that way. Then when she's with Alex in the other realm, she starts to have the flashbacks of what really happened at the birthday party. It was horrifying. Her dad was so mean to her brother just for him being the way he was. And she doesn't understand how she blocked that out and came up with this new memory and stuff. So then I started thinking, what if she's the killer? You know what I'm saying? But then they throw a nice little curveball in this series. At some point in time, she starts to remember a lady named Miranda, who is this British lady. And so Miranda, she remembered that they met Miranda as they were at the bar, her and Alex, when he was alive, and they was drinking. But she don't remember much about her, right? And so, and then Miranda has this really evil look on her face. She's played by Michelle Gomez, who was Lady Satan in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And so she's starting to try to piece together, wait a minute, what if Miranda killed Alex and everything? Because they started talking, and she started having some weird conversations with her, and she started thinking, maybe, just maybe, you know? And then all of a sudden, Miranda starts showing up in the series, and she's constantly following Cassie around, and she's interacting with people Cassie has interacted with and stuff. And every time we see Miranda, she just has this weird, bizarre, crazy look on her face. And so then at some point in time, we see Miranda talk to a man named Victor. And Victor's pissed. He's all like, you're screwed up in Bangladesh and Bangkok and everything. And, you know, you're off this case. And I want you back in London, like, now. Like, we'll find somebody else to pursue this Cassie woman and all this. So I'm all like, wait a minute. Are these people like spy assassin type people? What do they want? And it's kind of like, oh, so she is pursuing Cassie. So she must be like the killer. And Cassie thinks she's the killer and stuff. And so, but Miranda doesn't go back to London. She disobeys Victor's wishes. So throughout the first couple of episodes, Miranda is literally tracking down Cassie. And she is following this woman everywhere, even on a train. And Cassie now remembers who she is, and she is terrified of Miranda because, like I said before, she thinks that Miranda killed Alex. It's even at the point when Cassie is walking in the middle of the street talking to Annie on the phone, and she doesn't even realize Miranda is behind her. And like Miranda is attacking a random man on the street. So by episode, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. By episode 5, I was kind of getting back into this series. Or was it 4? I don't know. I know there's one. I know episode 3 took me out, but I think it was 4 or 5. One of those took me back in with the whole Miranda thing. So I'm like, okay, cool. Where's this going? You know what I'm saying? And we see, like I said before, we will see Buckley and Cassie constantly hanging out. They just don't care. But then we still see Cassie's trying to piece together the puzzle of who killed Alex and stuff, with all these strange flashbacks of like the bunnies and her alcoholic dad and this and that. But then we start to see images of young Cassie with blood on her face and scratches. And then we see the image of her dad behind the wheel dead. I'm like, whoa, what happened? They don't explain until later on. And so she's completely out of it, and she's just like, him and her, they vandalized something, and he's all like, just me and you, and I don't know you that long, let's just run away together. Whatever kind of danger you're in, just forget about it, let's go. And so they get arrested because they vandalized something, and then the lawyer lady bails her out. And then, so at some point, the lawyer lady and her have a bit of a falling out. Slightly, but the lawyer lady is trying to figure out who this Miranda lady is and get her friend exonerated and stuff like that. And so she's doing things that she is not supposed to be doing as a lawyer and getting her hands dirty to find out the answers. And so this could cost her her license and stuff. And so her boyfriend, God, what is his name? What is his name? I forget. Anyway, Annie's boyfriend. Let's just call him that. So Annie's boyfriend, he believes that, what Cassie is saying is true. And so he decides he's going to help her. Now, he's really good with computers and stuff like that. And so they're trying to figure out why this person killed Alex. And so we find out that when it comes to Alex, he might have been in some shady kind of business, and they find out he stole a bunch of stinking money from somewhere, and these people want that money, and these people are these terrorist type people, spy type people who Miranda works for, and Victor and stuff. So this is now the thing that has caused, because they sneak into his apartment. And when they sneak into his apartment, they that's how they found that out, because they snuck into his apartment that's in America. And so, or was it in America? It was someplace. Anyway, it was America. Anyway, so in New York. So he had an apartment in New York, and they're going through all his stuff, and they find out he's a really odd man. He has a bunch of porn in the closet. Nothing odd about that. But then he has a bunch of pictures of women posted all around his house. Photograph pictures, but all their hairs are chopped off. And they're in these weird positions. And so Annie's boyfriend's just kind of what's with this dude? Why does none of these women have faces? Is this dude a crazy, person? And you just didn't know about it, because she didn't know Alex that well, at all and stuff. And so Alex in the dream realm reality thing, he's pissed. He's all like, how dare you go through my stuff and judge me and stuff like that. And she's all like, dude, why do you have all this weird stuff? He's like, oh yeah, let's go through your stuff. So he goes to a big computer screen on the window, and he starts showing her all her screwed up stuff and all the screwed up stuff she has in her apartment and stuff. They find out, like I said, he stole a bunch of money, and it's on his laptop. But before they can get more information out of it and stuff, I think somebody starts to come into his apartment. It's Miranda. So they hide in everything. And Miranda is looking for stuff, and she's looking for stuff, and she's on the laptop. And I think she gets so frustrated that she smashes the laptop. So that's now become a dead end. They had to find another way. So I'm not like, okay, yeah, now this show is starting to pick up some like steam. It's a weird, bizarre type show, but I'm kind of curious to know, how they're gonna get themselves out of this. I'm like, okay, now we know Miranda killed Alex. He stole a bunch of money, the people that she works for. But then it's kind of like, how does Megan tie in and stuff? And so, they find out that his laptop, I think, was linked to like another computer somewhere. So they trace that down, and they go to this weird abandoned building with this big computer server in there. Not Alex, but Annie's boyfriend is like in heaven because he loves this type of computer stuff. So he's like going through all there, and he's putting stuff on like a flash drive and stuff. And so they're trying to figure out like what was this dude like in the game and stuff. But then they feel they trip some type of like alarm, and they're like, oh crap. So when Annie's boyfriend Max and Cassie are like sifting through this computer, they see a hit list with tons of pictures on it, and Cassie's face is on this hit list. So like the people that's looking for him, they now know that they're at this like warehouse type place at this computer server. And so they're gonna be there in a minute. Then they start hearing noise like somebody opening the door. So they run out with the flash drive, and they're running down the street, and all of a sudden Annie's boyfriend gets hit by a car. And it's like, and then the flash drive goes like scattered somewhere. And it's like, oh crap, they really was owning them. And they found them out, and they ran this dude over. So then Annie, she's pissed about this. Because the dude, her boyfriend's in a coma, and Cassie's trying to explain to her. She's like, I don't want to hear crap. Like, I don't even believe you no more. And I don't believe there's a Miranda woman. And I don't want to hear about this flash drive. And she's all like, there's no conspiracy theory. Nobody is trying to kill you. The person that ran her boyfriend over was actually just a drunken 17-year-old girl. I'm like, man, don't pull that like Pretty Little Liars A crap where you think A is like doing some bad stuff, but it turns out it's just the people in town. Like, I hate when they do that mess, man. And so they have a huge falling out. And then so at this point, she's just really down on her luck. She calls Megan, and Megan's like, I can't hang out with you right now because you only want to hang out with me when you're upset. But then she finds Buckley, and then they start hanging out and drinking and all this other stuff. And so, like, then she starts to tell Megan something about people are trying to kill her because of what happened in Bangkok and the FBI. And then Megan is kind of like, oh crap. I think she sent her like a message or something like that. And she's all like, no, I remember. Megan got drunk, and then she texted like Cassie about something about some Korean dudes, and no, wait, I'm forgetting something. When Megan texted her, she started speaking in Korean, because now Megan knows Korean because she's been dealing with Korean people or North Korean people and stuff. And so Megan's like, crap, dude, like this is gonna like I'm gonna sell myself out by mistake. So then she has to go find Cassie and get her cell phone. So when Cassie's getting drunk with Buckley and they're hanging out, at some point in time, she goes to the bathroom and Buckley's doing something. And then Megan runs in and she steals the cell phone and she erases all the text messages of her talking in Korean. And then she places the cell phone back like on the floor or something like that so that Cassie can find it. And so Megan's like, woohoo, I'm out to clear and everything. And so, like, after that, now, there are 2 FBI agents. I will get them a little bit later because something irritates me about them a little bit. It's the way all this new modern day stuff is written. But anyway, they're on the case too of who killed Alex because Cassie is very stupid. She's going around, she uses a fake name, Alexandria, to fool people, not knowing who she really is. And when she's trying to like clear her name and do all this investigation stuff, she's constantly being seen on video cameras, and she's not wearing gloves at all. So she's leaving all her fingerprints like everywhere in Alice's apartment and all this and that. So at some point, Cassie's investigation, I think, leads her to like a bank or like some type of insurance type place. It's something. And she talks to the people there because she's trying to find out like what's going on between this Alex person. because he handled some deals over there. And then she talks to this one lady who kind of knows Alex a little bit more. I forget this lady's name, but needless to say, when she goes to follow this lady back to her place, I think Miranda shows up in this lady's place. And then next thing you know, the lady falls out a window and is dead. So now this makes Cassie look even more suspicious because Cassie went to this woman's apartment and stuff like that. Sabrina. Now let's go back to Megan just for a little bit. So when Megan, she gets a call from her husband. Oh no, before that. Her husband confronts her because he said his laptop has like a virus on it. And he wants to know, did you put anything on there from shopping on Amazon? Now, needless to say, her husband works for this big high-tech computer company, software company, and he thinks that she got a virus off of Amazon, whatever. But anyway, she's all like, well, you know, our son be on that thing, and he's probably looking at porn, or maybe somebody else is, and her husband's like, oh, yeah, I'll talk to my son about that. He's been looking at porn, so he thinks, okay, maybe he got a virus that way. So he takes it to like the IT people. And they notice that there's a bunch of Korean soft spyware on his laptop. And so his wife's all like, what? Because she knows she's been dealing with the Korean dude. And so like he calls her at his office and he's all like, the CIA or something like that is at his office investigating his laptop, something about North Korea, this and that. Like he don't understand what's going on. She knows exactly what's going on. She realizes, oh crap, the FBI dude I've been working for is dirty. And he's been having me work for North Korea. And that's exactly what happens. So she's upset. She leaves a bunch of money in a note for her son and her husband. And she leaves basically. Like she goes, does her job. She's in another country in Rome, where Cassie is at. I'll get to that a little bit later. And so, yeah, why is Cassie in Rome? Like I said, I'll get to that a little bit later. So she decides, you know what, she's just gonna flee the country and stuff like that. So let's put a pin in her because that gets a little bit more interesting, but still, it's not too much that goes on with her plot and Cassie's plot. At some point in time, Annie decides, oh, she's gonna forgive Cassie and still try to help her and stuff. Well, at some point in time, Miranda comes face to face with Cassie. And Cassie's all like, oh crap. Now, before this happens, let's get a little bit into Miranda. So, Victor found out Miranda is not back in London. Oh, by the way, Michelle Gomez, she's actually Scottish. So I get to hear her real accent for the first time. And I'm shocked. Shocked. Because it wasn't like that in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Anyway, Victor's pissed. And she talks to this one lady on the phone who works for Victor, and she's all like, he knows you're still in New York, you're not back in London, he's pissed, and everything, you need to come back now. And she's all like, no, I'm close to getting like the money and stuff like that, so she's not coming back. Miranda wants the money all for herself. At some point in time, she gets in the car, and this guy tries to kill her, so she kills him. So we know she is a murderer, and we still think that, yeah, she murdered Alex and stuff. And now she confronts Cassie. And Miranda tells her something about, like, I know you know where the money's at, blah, blah, and stuff like that, and you killed Alex. And, like, Cassie's all like, I didn't kill Alex, you killed Alex. So they're like, wait, hold on. So then they start talking. And then Cassie brings up a name. I think it's like Alana, something like that. She's like, Alana. Oh, crap. Alana is, I think, the lady who talked to her on the phone. And the one who told her that Victor's pissed at you. So she's all like, I did not kill Alex. And if you didn't kill Alex, and so that can only mean one thing. And you mentioned the name Alana. That means Felix is now on the case. So she's all like, Felix must have been the one who killed Alex. And now Felix is coming to kill us. And she's all like, wait, what? And she's like, yo, we need to flee, like big time. So then I'm all like, well, hold up. You mean to tell me Miranda is not the killer? All throughout this series, it made her look like she was the killer. She was constantly following what's her face around. She killed that one dude. She was in that one lady's apartment when that lady jumped out, when that lady was thrown out the window. And I mean, like, why not just make Miranda the killer? It would make a whole lot more sense. You know, and now there's this Felix person that we know nothing about and we've never seen. So let's put a pin in that when I get to the differences between the book, because it's really gonna piss me off. So then so Cassie and Miranda, they're now bonding. They're becoming friends. And I'm just like, lady, you were just finna kill Cassie just a couple of minutes ago. Now y'all friends and stuff? Where is this show going? This makes no sense. But for whatever reason, Miranda feels sorry for Cassie. And she knows that Cassie is not gonna be no match for Felix. And so, yeah. So now they're buddies, they're friends and everything. And now she's talking about how they're gonna leave the country together. She tells her Victor will never stop until he kills them. Felix will never stop until he's done with the mission. And so they need to leave the country. And she cannot tell none of her friends this and that. But she does call up the Annie lady and tells her, like, you know, goodbye, and she has to leave and stuff. So Annie is still on the case and trying to help her friend out. But then she has this heartfelt, then Cassie calls her brother. So at some point in time, for whatever reason, Miranda decides, hey, let's go to an AA meeting with Cassie. Because Cassie's an alcoholic. And Cassie doesn't want to do it. She tries to run out. And Alex is like, oh, you know, you should do this. And she tells Alex, I don't want to talk to you right now. So she keeps trying to run from Alex, but he keeps trying to bring her back. Then she has the ultimate flashback. Her and her dad are driving in a car. They're both drinking. Yeah, because they're drinking buddies and stuff. They don't see this oncoming car. Boom, huge car crash. She looks at her dad. He's dead. She looks at the other two people who crashed into them. They are dead. She stumbles out the car. The alcohol cans just falling out. She starts to see a rabbit bounce near her, hop towards her. And so I'm like, okay, that's the imagery with the rabbit, but you don't do nothing with the rabbit. And so she just kind of runs off. And then it's revealed that she never told nobody what really happened. She just said that, you know, her dad was drinking this and that, but she never said she was drinking along with him. And that the crash was just like a crazy freak of accident and stuff like that. But she's hid this her entire life. And she feels responsible. She feels like she is the one who killed her dad. She ain't talking about the other people. She's talking about her dad. Because she said she was dad's drinking buddy. She said that dad never drank the way he did unless he was around her because he was her drinking buddy. So she confesses all this to Alice. And she's really upset and emotional. And he's all like, you can't blame yourself for this. You were just a kid. She's all like, but it's her fault. He never drinks that way unless he's around her. And so she's been hiding this burden and this secret all along. And I'm thinking to myself, this would have been perfect storytelling for why she killed Alex. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like Cassie, but they never went that route. And so at this point in time, I decided I'm gonna go online and see what the book is about, but I don't go in full detail. I just looked at like the synopsis, and the synopsis read this. It's exactly how the show plans out. She's in another country, she meets Alex, she's drunk, he dies, she's trying to clear her name, but here's one difference between the book and the show. Throughout the book, she starts to speculate if she killed Alex because of all these flashbacks that she's having and stuff like that. I'm thinking to myself, man, that would have been great. That would have been perfect. That is how the show should have happened. Throughout the entire show, she doesn't blame herself. She doesn't think she killed Alex. They took that away and it really robbed from the show, I believe. It could have been some, you know, they could have had some really good psychological trauma that she suffered as a child. her killing, or the accident between her father, her constantly drinking, her seeing that plane crash, wanting to be a flight attendant, her blocking out memories of how her brother was treated. That would have been so great for her being Alex's murderer. Her not knowing why she did that, but she did it because she was pissed drunk and blacked out. But they don't go that route. And that would have been a major change for the show that deviated from the book. But they don't go that route. Now, I forget how Felix, how Cassie is shown what Felix looked like, but somehow she is. And her and Miranda are talking, and somehow, I really forget how. But it's revealed what Felix looks like. And when Cassie sees this, she's all like, wait a minute, that's Buckley and everything. The guy she's been sleeping with, the guy who wanted to run off with her and stuff. Turns out Buckley is really Felix. And Felix, yes, indeed killed Alex. And so, like, she's like, oh crap, I've been sleeping with the killer and all this other stuff. And then Miranda comes up with an idea of how they're gonna catch him. They're gonna, she's gonna do her job like she always goes to another country, and then she's gonna take like a shuttle to like the apartment. And then when she's in the apartment, Miranda's gonna be hiding in the apartment using Cassie as bait to kill Felix and everything. Well, you know, Cassie doesn't really want to do this, but she does it. At some point in time, Annie's boyfriend wakes up and they talk. And then she talks about Cassie and all this, and he's all like, what about Miranda? She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I saw Miranda when she was in the apartment. She's like, oh wait, she's for real? So then of course she's back on the case and she's doing things that are gonna really get her fired from her lawyer job. So she goes looking for the flash drive and she finds it. And then she gives it to the FBI. Once again, like I said, I'll get into the FBI a little bit later. So as they're about to head off into the airport, Miranda's all like, oh wait, I have an errand to run. I'll be right back. And you just keep doing what you're doing and I'll be on the plane and stuff, but save me a seat. So Miranda goes and she confronts Victor. It's like she finds Victor and stuff. He's there with the bodyguard. This is what's really interesting. Miranda is a skinny older lady and she knocks out a huge 40-something-year-old bodyguard with just one punch. I'm just like, how? Dude is huge. Then she punches Victor and he gets a bloody nose, but he doesn't get knocked out. So I'm like, she can knock out him, but why not him? So she ends up killing Victor. And she ends up shooting him and everything. So the whole Victor thing is done with. But Victor ends up shooting her in the leg. And so then the bodyguard is still knocked out on the ground. She decides, and she runs him over. I'm all like, what was the point of that? Was that supposed to be humorous? No, it's supposed to show like female empowerment. Because the Miranda character is a very sassy woman who talks back to everybody, especially men, and makes them look like idiots and stuff. And that's not good women empowerment. Having her run over a man body, and he was just the bodyguard. You know, he's there just doing his job. You know what I'm saying? And so there was really no point in that. If she would have ran over Victor, that would have been something. I would have been okay with that. But not the whole bodyguard thing. So she's late getting to the plane because she's bleeding. And so when people see her at the airport bleeding, they try to attend to her wounds and stuff like that. So Cassie is now going to Rome. And she's all like, you know, she knows Felix is going to find her and stuff. And so she hangs out with this guy named Enrico, something like that. This Italian dude. And so it's one of her friends. I don't know if they ever done anything together, but they're like drinking buddies and stuff. And she said like, dude, I need a gun. And so he goes back to his place because he lives with his grandma, and his grandfather is dead. And he asked the grandmother for like grandfather's gun. And so then the grandmother talks to Cassie. It's kind of like a pointless speech. And so he gets the gun and they go off and they go into the hotel. And there is Felix waiting. But let's jump to something else that I forgot to mention. Felix and Miranda, they come face to face. They have a huge fight in this Roman hotel elevator. And it's a great fight and everything. They're getting the best of one another. They're like really whooping each other and stuff. But then it cuts from that and it goes to Cassie. Talking to Italian dude. So the one dude, she tells him like I think she needs like ice or something like that or a drink, and so he goes downstairs to go get it. Eurykio. And so he leaves her there, and the gun's on the counter, and she goes into the bathroom, and she sees something in the shower. So she pulls back the curtain. It's Miranda. She's completely laid out in the bathroom tub, and there is Felix now in the other room. And he tells her some really creepy stuff. He tells her how he's been tracking her with some of her ID badge of her. And he's been telling her that he's literally been stalking her this entire season. Like every place she's been going, he has been there. He has been like in disguise, just like, spying on her. Even to the point where he delivers something to her and she doesn't even know it's him. So she's creeped out because she's all like, dude, not only are you a killer, but you're my stalker too. And so he wants to know, where is the money? Now, there's one part I have left out. The money. So at some point in time, she remembers that Alex had a book when she was talking to Miranda. And this book Alex has, he wrote some encryption stuff like in the corners of the pages. She didn't know what that was at that time, but she realizes it's to the account of like where the money is hidden and stuff. So Miranda's like, well, tell me where it's at. She's like, no, I'll show you. Because she doesn't trust Miranda, because she knows Miranda wants the money. And Miranda knows that she doesn't try to do anything. Her and Miranda are literally buddies now. It's just so weird. Like, it's so weird how her and Miranda became buddies. It's so stupid how the writers did this for the show. So anyway, they go in his apartment, they get the book. But then Felix shows up. And I think, that's how Cassie knows that Felix and Bucky are one and the same. So he comes in there and he steals the book. And so he gives it to Victor. And then, so when Miranda killed Victor, she took the book. Now, when it comes to everybody thinking Cassie knows where the money is, know where the book is at, it's kind of like, why do they think that Alex would tell her? She didn't know Alex that long. She only known him for like a little while. And just because she slept with him, I mean, she knows all his secrets. Like, she was only able to piece together the pieces about the book and decoding it and everything from like memory of like overhearing stuff, which is kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like she can repress everything else, but somehow she able to remember that. And he didn't tell her directly. She just like overheard like a little this is and that's, and was able to piece together the thing. So it's kind of like, I don't get how she was able to piece together the puzzle like so quickly and so well, especially when her memory is like as bad as it is and stuff, with her constantly forgetting stuff and her constantly being drunk and blacking out. So that's just like flawed all on its own, because it's kind of like people wanted to kill her for something she might not have known. And also, how did she even remember it when she's such a drunk? Her and Felix, so Cassie and Felix, they fight. And somehow Cassie is getting the better hand of this assassin dude, just to make her look all tough. But he's getting some good licks too, so it doesn't look like a complete wimp. And so then Eurykio comes back and they're fighting. He's getting some good licks, and Felix is getting some good licks and stuff. And then Felix has a knife. He stabs Eurykio. He falls down, but then Cassie runs and grabs the gun. And so she's there and she's pointing the gun at him and she's getting ready to fire. I don't know if she actually shoots him or not. I don't know if she's the one. I don't know if she shoots him in the leg. I think she's about to. But then something interesting happens. Remember how I said she had a friend that was gay and he's a flight attendant, a black dude? His name is Shane. And he barges into the room with a gun and just starts shooting, uploading on Felix and everything. And Cass is just like, dude, what the world is going on? And he's all like, I've been working for the CIA. I'm just like, wait, what? And when he's explaining all this to her, he's not sounding in his normal gay voice. I'm just like, whoa, what the world is going on? So let's do a little recap, because I haven't talked about Shane yet. I left him for the end for a very specific reason. Shane is her gay friend, who she normally only calls up and hangs around when she's sad and depressed, because she uses people like that. At some point in time, she was trying to track down what happened between her and Alex, and they lead them to a club, and she invites Shane. And so some weird stuff started happening in the club. I don't really remember what. But then he's basically, all Shane was really there for just to make out with some other dude at the club. That's really, and then I'm just thinking to myself, what's the point of having this character here for representation and he ain't doing nothing? Well, they finally give him something to do. See, the CIA has been on to Megan and they want to bring her in. So they hired Shane to help bring Megan in. They gave him a gun and everything. But this was so weird. He knows how to shoot, he knows how to use a gun, and they allow him to kill somebody. I don't know if he's a real CIA agent or he's just a flight attendant who they recruited and stuff. But yeah, so I'm assuming maybe he really is CIA because the dude knows how to shoot and he's carrying a gun and he's not afraid to kill. So then he tells her about the whole Miranda thing. Now that's something else I left out. Remember how I said Miranda is in Rome? Well, her and Cassie, they're talking and stuff, and they're actually having a heart-to-heart. Megan is telling her how, I was just this lonely lady who wanted a friend, and you didn't want that, and you only call people up when you need something and stuff like that. So then they decide, okay, Cassie's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna share something with you. So Cassie shares what's been going on with her these past couple of days. The whole Alex thing, the money thing, the Miranda thing, the assassination thing. So then, what is it? Megan shares with her about the whole espionage thing with North Korea and how she didn't know she was working for North Korea and stuff. And now, like, her husband's job is in jeopardy and she has to flee the country and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, I still don't understand the Megan character and all this. It makes a little bit more sense in the book. I'll get to that later. But it's just like if you used to take her out, then the story will still go on. I just don't get that. Like, you know what I'm saying? She literally has the plot B of the show, and it has nothing to do with Cassie. So Eurykio, he survives. Felix, he survives. And so, what is it? Cassie, she decides after all this craziness, it's time to give up drinking and be a better person. So, she started going to AA meetings and everything. She calls up her brother. They settle whatever beef they had before and stuff. And then when she's on the plane, she sees Shane. And Shane is just all like, she's like, what are you still doing here? Isn't your mission? I'm assuming he really is a CIA agent. He's all like, the CIA is very impressed with you and you might be getting a call from them. They want to recruit her. So she's all smiles and everything, and the show just ends. And I'm just like, what in the world did I just watch? It went from one thing to another thing to another thing. And I'm just like, it makes no sense. It was multiple shows in one. The show really should just focus on Cassie, the Alex thing, and they could have built the whole season on that without throwing everybody else in. Then they could have done the Miranda Felix thing in the second season. Then they could have did the whole CIA thing the next. They could have spaced it out, but they didn't. They just made this show very strange and confusing and kept throwing everything in 8 episodes. But somehow, in this show, that's like a 7 out of 10 rating and stuff from critics. And it's just like, it's an odd, intriguing little show, peculiar and everything. And I just don't understand why they went certain routes that they did, especially deviating from that of the book and stuff. And so it's just like, I think it's an okay show. I don't think it's like a great, amazing show. And it most definitely does not need a second season. Now, when it does come to this show, like I said before, they should have really spaced it out. It should have just been her, like, we should have been seeing her getting drunk, her trying to figure out who killed Alex, her trying to do it all on her own, by her memories starting to come back and everything. And the whole interaction between her and Alex, that would have been fine for the first season. And like I said before, the whole Miranda and the Phyllis thing, that should have been in the second. Now, speaking of Alex, when the whole Felix thing was happening, he was like dying, but he survived in the dream realm. But he's dead anyway, so who cares? Now let's go over some things about the show that's really interesting that I left out. The cinematography. What they do is that they use split screens throughout the entire show. When they first did it in episode 1, I was just kind of like, when they was her and him were talking on the phone, her and her brother was talking on the phone, I'm just like, why is this going around? Like, why are they using split screens? I don't understand it. It's really weird. But then when they started doing throughout the entire series, I'm like, okay, now it makes a little bit more sense. And it makes it more interesting. It's visually interesting. It's visually appealing and everything. And I like that they went that route. Because every now and then, when stuff starts to get like the same in TV shows, you need something a little different to jazz it up. And the whole split screen really jazzed it up. Now, when I saw this happening, the first thing I thought to myself was, it reminded me of a movie I once saw called Conversations of Other Women. It stars the dude who played Two-Face from the Dark Knight movie, and it stars Helen Bonham Carter. And it's a really nice movie. It's free on all these streaming sites, so just go check it out. Conversations of Other Women. It's a really pleasant movie. All the movie is just two people in a hotel room talking. And that's it. They're just talking to each other. And it's a romantic comedy. And it's just a really fascinating movie. And the way they use these split screens just really keeps you like focused into the plot. But this is all it is. It's just two people talking. And it's a good movie somehow. And I enjoy it. Now, even though I think Flight Attendant is a bizarre show, it has been nominated for a lot of stuff, you know? But I think people were just kind of tired of the same stuff, and they see this new show that's really intriguing, and they're just like, whoa, this is so awesome, you know? I mean, like I said, it had me hooked, but then it just kept going on all these weird, bizarre, different, like, things. Now let's get into the book. It took me a long time to find out what happens in the book, but I went on Amazon at first, and a lot of the reviews for this book are bad. A lot of people hate this book a lot. So I'm like, well, how did it get made into a show? People hate this book so much and stuff. But pretty much the plot of the book really does follow, well, the plot of the show follows that of the book, but there are some differences. First difference is that Miranda, she is indeed the killer of the book. And she is the one who killed Alex and stuff. And then someone's like, why didn't they keep that in the show? They made it seem like she was the killer. But then they had her befriend Cassie, which makes no sense. Then, in the book, Felix kills Miranda. Now, this is one thing. Oh, I forgot to mention something. So yeah, anyway. Actually, you know what? I'll just insert it in earlier into the video. But anyway, yeah. Felix kills Miranda in the book. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why in the world did he leave her alive in the bathroom tub? Because she does eventually give Cassie back the book and everything. But she ripped the page out so they can work together in the next season. And so Miranda is dead in the book. And that's how it should have been in this show. Another difference is that Megan, she still has the same plot that she has in the show. But instead of working for North Korea, she is actually working for Victor and the Russians, because Victor is Russian in the book. In the show, he is not. And so, okay, yeah. It makes now sense for Megan to be tied into what's going on with Cassie, and that's how they should have did it in the show. But they didn't. So in the book, yeah, they have actually a common analogy to each other. Megan is secretly working for the Russians, and she has no idea. Victor wants Cassie dead, and so yeah, they tie in nicely. But in the book, Megan doesn't have much to do, and she's like a small character. In the show, they made her a little bit bigger of a character, but out of place one, in my opinion. But at least in the book, they tie into each other nicely, whereas in the show, they don't. Shane is not working for the CIA in the book. Shane is just a flight attendant. That's it. So it was nice to see them give him something more interesting to do. And that was a nice little plot twist. But he had little to no screen time. If he was shown throughout the entire season, it would have been more memorable other than just, hey, let's chug this in there, right? Now, one major difference is why she gave up drinking. In the show, it was because of her chaotic lifestyle, what happened in Bangkok and the whole murder of Alex and stuff. In the book, it's revealed that Cassie, ended up pregnant with Alex's child, and she wanted to raise this child a whole lot better, so she decides to give up drinking. So they left that out. Kaylee Cuoco said they were not going that route no matter what in the show. And I think that would have been interesting to end the show on that note. You know, it is kind of like an out of place type thing. I still don't understand what the world they're going to do in the second season. They should have just ended it the way they did, you know. And so they didn't. And now we're going to have a second season of made up stuff now because there is no second book. So now they're going to make everything up in the second season. This is going to be just like 13 Reasons Why. It had one book. It should have ended in one season, but they kept it for like 2 or 3 more seasons, and they ruined a really good show. So, like, okay, one thing I left out. When they was talking to the CIA dude, Shane, at the end, she asked him about Miranda. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, Miranda's in the tub. He's like, there was no lady in the tub. Miranda survived. Why in the world did Felix leave her alive? That made no sense. She is his competition. They want both the same thing, money. And they want to kill each other. Why would he leave her alive? And then when she is in the cafeteria, I know she's someplace in a restaurant, and she's talking to somebody. And we see, she's talking to Annie, and we see a person walk up to her and put something in her bag. It's the book. It was Miranda. She left the book for Cassie. And so it's like she ripped the page out and stuff like that. So this is going to lead up to the second season. Okay, so now I'm here to talk about the FBI people. The FBI people are pretty non-existent in this show. They pop in and then they pop out. But the 2 FBI agents, a male and a woman, they have their like skirmishes here and there. And it gets into now this whole Greg Bertinelli and bad representation of the checkmark system I do not like. See, Greg Bertinelli in his show on the Arrowverse, it has a lot of representation. On the CW, a lot of his shows have a lot of representation. But it's mainly just the checkmark system. I have mentioned this before in a past video. Go watch that. Basically, it's like he wants to show awareness and stuff like that between like people of color and LGBT and women empowerment. But he check marks it off and then he doesn't really do much of anything with it. Because he have all the white characters do everything else on the show, and they take up all the space and the time. And that's exactly what happens here. In this show, there are 3 black people, 1 Hispanic person, 2 gay people, and they completely get overshadowed by all the white characters in the show. And because they're really only there to be there because of who and what they are, but they don't really do much. And then when they do something, it's kind of like it feels completely out of place in the series. So, the FBI agent people. The female one, she's like black. She's mixed probably with something, I don't know what. And then she has a partner who's white and younger. She's a little bit older than him. And right off, when they first introduced in the first couple of episodes, he says something. When he's in the room with Cassie and the lawyer, he shows them some pictures of Alex's dead body. So like, oh, since you like taking pictures, do you like these pictures and stuff? And then so she gets on to him about that. Talking about if she were to do that, being a black, strong, independent lady, she would be fired. But him, being a white male, he's allowed to do that. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, they're trying to do like black awareness thing and white privilege. Okay, that's good. But are we going to see this throughout the entire season? No. And that's my problem there. If you're going to do something like that and say something, a bit bold statement like that, you have to follow it up. And if you don't follow it up, then it's just thrown in there to show, haha, look what we did. We've had like representation, or we have some awareness, and aren't we great and everything. Greg does this a lot in his shows. Now, throughout the entire season with the FBI people, it's shown that the guy is more loose and reckless with, okay, we have a couple of clues here. Well, this person must be the killer. Whereas the female cop is kind of like, no, we need to take our time, make sure we get this right, and everything like that. Showing that, okay, that's kind of cool, but it's interesting because she is the female, he is the male, and in a lot of these shows now, males are made to look stupid. And the male cop is made to look stupid and reckless because he just wants to jump to a conclusion, whereas she wants to take her time and figure something out. And she gets more information from Annie and stuff. So, is they want to show female empowerment, but they do it in a way that kind of makes the female cop looks kind of like dull and boring, and she doesn't even figure it out on her own. She has to have help from Cassie and the flash drive. Not Cassie, but Annie and the flash drive. Now we get to the flight attendants. We have one Hispanic, two black, and one of the black people is gay. Now, the black female flight attendant lady, I had forgot she was even in this show. She shows up at the end, and they actually give her something more to say. And all she does is just say something sassy and comedic, like a typical black character on a show. And throughout the rest of the season, we don't see her. We probably see her in the first episode, but she probably don't say nothing. She only gets to say something in the last episode. And it was kind of like, why even have this character be here for a pointless, like, one-liner sassy moment? And then why make her black? They're just kind of like, oh, haha, look at this. We have people of color in our show. She don't do nothing. Period. Then there is Megan, the North Korean spy lady, who doesn't even know it. Now, I will say this. For representation, yes, they actually gave her character a lot to do. She had her own B subplot. But her subplot had nothing to do with the overall, the overarchy of the entire season. But she was given stuff to do. We find out a little about her, and we, she has pretty good representation all around. And she has better like stuff to do than she does in the book, because in the book she's really just like barely in there from my head. And so it's kind of like, okay, like I said before, you take her out, doesn't change nothing. The only reason why she was given a bigger story, because she is with a legend, Rosie Perez. If Rosie Perez or another legend didn't have that role, they would have made the Megan character nothing. So it's kind of like, that was great that they gave the Megan character something to do and some really good representation. The only problem is her story never ties into Cassie's story in this show. It does in the book, but it never does in the show. So it's kind of like when you see the Megan character in the show, you're left scratching your head of why in the world is she there? And when you have to say that, then of course you say, well, why is Rosie even there? And it's just kind of like, and it really made you seem like this show was about both her and Kaylee Cuoco, but it is really not. And so it's just kind of like they just threw in this legend who just so happened to be Hispanic for representation. And they give her something to do, but it makes no sense within the storylines of the show. Then they just wanted to show like a bonding female moment of, hey, women stick together and we have each other back with the whole Miranda and Cassie character, which makes no sense. It makes no sense for these two to be friends. It makes no sense for these two to want to bond. I get it. And then, Miranda keeps saying that, oh, I was supposed to kill this girl, but now I kind of like her and now I feel sorry for her, so we're kind of friends now. And she literally says that in the show. And it's just kind of like, that makes no sense. Clearly, she was meant to kill this woman. If this woman had like the what she needed and stuff like that, she would have straight up killed her, and just to make Victor happy. But no, they wanted to have this strong female bonding moment that felt completely fake and out of place. And they tried to make, now I get that Miranda character is a tough woman because she is an assassin, but I just don't understand how she's able to knock out a huge bodyguard with one punch. That's a little bit too powerful and stuff, because she was able to do that. Then how come she wasn't able to knock out Victor? And how come she got her butt whooped by Felix? You know what I'm saying? So that just felt kind of weird. And that's like fake female empowerment for her to knock out that bodyguard when she couldn't do it to nobody else. And even Cassie was able to beat up Felix a whole lot better than her character. I mean, they had a good fight in that elevator, but still, you know what I'm saying? And then she runs over the security guard dude just to be like, haha, I'm sticking it to the man. And it's like, no, that's not good representation. That is fake modern day representation. Now I will say, between the gay brother, that was pretty good representation. It was nice to that showed like the struggles that he went through in his life with his father and how his sister repressed those memories. Something that does happen in real day life. So I give him credit for that. But Greg Bertinelli is gay, so I can understand why the gay dude had like the best representation out of everybody else. And that's what happens normally in his shows for the most part. It's like he has him and the dude from the Archie show, they just have fake representation throughout the entire show, and it weighs shows down. Now when it comes to Penny 2.0, aka Cassie, I guess one of the reasons why like I'm having a hard time like not only getting into this series because of the strange plot and like some of the like strange characters and their reveals and stuff, is that the main character I just can't fully get behind. Like, she's not that much of a sympathetic character. Like, I feel bad these people are out to kill her because for the most part, she hasn't done absolutely nothing. Like, she really hasn't. And they're just like after her only because, you know, she was in the bed with that dude and stuff. And that night that they killed him, Alex and stuff. So I feel bad for her because of that. But it's hard for me to truly root for her as a character because of how unlikable she is. Like, everything from her constantly getting drunk, constantly sleeping around, constantly berating the people who actually care about her. Annie and like her brother, they truly care about her. But then every time she has like a little sip of something, or every time they say something, one little thing she doesn't like, she just like attacks them and stuff. Or she's rude, or she uses people, just like her flight attendant crew. Like, she only talks and hangs out with them when she like is feeling low or wants to like party. Same thing with the men that she sleeps with. Like, there are some that she just really doesn't want nothing to do with, but it's kind of like she only calls them up when she's in trouble or when she needs something or when she wants to party, you know? Like Buckley, like she doesn't really like him because he seems like the loser type, but she only calls him up when she's distressed and everything, or when she wants some. Same thing with the one dude from Rome. Is like, you know, she just straight up asks him, hey, you know, we ain't talked in a good while, but hey, I need a gun. And he just ups and straight up, like, first he's like, why you need a gun for? But then he's all like, okay, whatever, like, I'll help you. And he straight up just gives her a gun. They barely know each other. I have no idea if they even slept together at any point. And he's just a random character that shows up literally in the last episode. And she just straight up be like, hey, I need something, you know? And then, you know, it's like the whole how she bribes her nieces for them to be happy, all because she's a neglectful aunt and everything. And it's just like, it's just so hard for me to root for somebody like that. And then, you know, and it's sad that she blames herself for her dad's death. That's all entirely on him because he was drinking and driving. But, you know, she had no business drinking with him at a young age. And so it's just, she's so flawed and unlikable. But at that same time, the only reason why I don't want nothing bad to happen to her because she literally didn't do nothing. And so it's kind of, I wish when they changed stuff in this series, they would have changed her character to make her more likable. Now, you can have a flawed character that's very likable. There's Fleabag from Fleabag. Cassie is like so stupid. It's like, she knows she didn't kill him. She confessed to the cops that, oh yeah, she knew him and all this other stuff. But then she goes to his funeral and everything around his family members. And it's kind of like she's making herself look guilty. Fleabag is a very flawed character. In season 1, she's rude, she's condescending. When she's talking to you, she's being rude to you in her head. When she's talking to the audience, she uses people for like sex. She steals anything from people. Like, she's a little kleptomaniac. She will steal money. Like, this is one guy she's really not into. And then she's being all rude to him just so he won't kind of like her back. But then she straight up steals from him. And then when she needs like a date, she calls him up and everything. And it's just like, dude, what's up with that? And then so also it's like she has this struggling business, and which is why she's constantly stealing from people. She is responsible for her friend's like suicide because she had an affair with the girl's boyfriend. She uses her one on again, off again boyfriend, Harry. Like, she doesn't really like him all that much because he's too like soft. But then every time like she needs her place clean, she'll break up with him because when he gets broken up with, he just goes in like this cleaning stage. And then so he'll leave like his, it's just like, you know, but then it's kind of like we find out that she does actually like him, but he doesn't want nothing to do with her. And so it's like, what makes her likable is one, she's actually funny. Whereas Penny is just like manic all the time and scared because everybody wants to kill her. But also, when you find out how her life is, you feel sad and sorry for her. Her father literally wants nothing to do with her. Like, he cannot stand her. Like, he hates her and stuff. Her sister also cannot stand her and is really rude to her. When she gets assaulted by her sister's husband, her sister's just kind of like just abandons her and stuff, then hangs out with her a couple of next days, but then is totally rude and stays with her husband. Like, she just doesn't care. Her sister cares for her a little because they constantly hang out, but you know, her sister wants nothing to do with her and stuff because she sees her as a very flawed, irritating person. And then when you see she has a struggling business, like I said before, that's why she steals, is because, you know, she can't keep her like rent and stuff. And it's just like, it's one thing after another, and you just can't help feel for this person because the only person who really loved her is her mom, and her mom is dead. And the other person who really loved her was her best friend, but she can't have her no more in her life because she committed suicide all because of Fleabag. And so, even though Fleabag is very flawed, it's her comedic stuff and her sad story, her life story, that makes you like root for her and stuff. Now, I will say this, the show is interesting, it's strange, it's peculiar. You can watch it, you can have an interesting good time, but it's just certain things that just don't add up. If they were going to change the whole Miranda being the killer thing, then they should have made Cassie the killer. That would have made for a much interesting, deeper show. They could have shown all throughout the first season how traumatized she is from her past and how that probably affected, like, she doesn't even realize she's the killer, but she is. And then she could spend the whole season trying to like clear her name only to find out, oh wait, I'm the killer. Then the second season, the whole Miranda and Phyllis thing could have came into play because even though they know she killed them, Alex, they still want that money. And then what if that could have made Victor be all like, hey, you know, I mean, like, you're the perfect like spy assassin person. You're this drunk who don't know you're doing things and you black out. Well, you like to work for me and everything. And what if you have no choice? See, they could have made that so much more interesting, but they went that strange route. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Shane is literally brought into the show only to be like the gay best friend. When they're at a club, we see him making out with a guy. We hear him talk a little bit, and then he disappears for the rest of the show. Then he only comes back for like the twist ending, which, you know, that was something they gave him, but still, it's like he disappeared throughout the entire show. It would have been more interesting. They would have had him interact, give some facial expressions, show that something's going on with him, you know? It was just like a lame last attempt, like, twist, in my opinion.